So today with us is Teresa from Evenementen Festival. Teresa, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start with you introducing yourself, if you would like, and how did you, end up with the Evenementen Festival and the trainings?
Okay, it's a bit of a long story. Firstly, I was for 16 years actually with Bucks University, eventually becoming head of department for the music and event management courses. And during that time, way back actually in 2006, several of the directors of Evenementen Festival were students of mine. And one of the other directors, Ben Chalice, was a colleague, and we shared an office. So I knew about Claire's dissertation. I knew that Evenementen Festival had been formed, and just chatting to Ben, every so often, I sort of knew what was happening with it. And very early on, when the Evenementen Festival were looking to create the audit framework, I helped find or sort out some of the questions, because I was looking for a little project for some of my really top students, and they were students from across Europe. And chatting to Ben, it looked like a good idea if we could find out from audiences and from festivals what sort of things should be on this checklist. What sort of question should a greener festival be asking of festivals to find out what they put in practice in terms of green initiatives? What should festivals be doing in terms of green initiatives? So it was a bit of a general survey, but I had four students in the end from across Europe go out to festivals and come back with a list of suggested questions. So that was really the start of my actually working with the Greener Festival. And then again, because Ben was a colleague for quite a few years at Bucks, the next thing came up was we needed to do a sort of rerun of Claire's original research to just check out whether things had changed in festivals. So I organised through the university, through again a number of students, to actually redo this piece of research using the same questions, but this time we had it translated into 4 languages because I had European students. So what was originally a UK-based piece of research became a Europe-wide piece of research. And we got over 2,000 responses to the questionnaire, and we did it then, we're talking 2008, so we still did quite a lot of face-to-face interviews, but we also did email interview as well. So that was the sort of second piece of research, which was based on the original. And then again, I did it again in 2012, and this time it was wholly online. And this reached, again, a couple of thousand people, but it was then worldwide. So the third piece of research went even further, again, using the same sorts of questions and try to measure how things might have changed over time. Because you can do a snapshot. That tells you something. But because we're in it for the long term with the environment, it's more useful to see whether things are changing over time, and whether you can measure against the original research, the baseline, which we'd call the baseline, what those changes are and how much things have changed. So done a number of pieces of research with the Greener Festival. So by 2016, when I decided to leave the university, it was almost a natural progression to join a Greener Festival as a director, and bring my skills to the table. So that's a bit of a, as I said, a longish story, but it gives you the background as to how it came to be, really.
Yeah.
In terms of the training, obviously with my background, I was bringing those skills. I know how to develop a course, what else you need to make it a good course, and how to sort of get the thing off the ground, how to start it, and all the sort of the detail that you need when you really want to run courses. And I've seen lots of people try to run courses. But they don't have, there's a skill about knowing the content. You can know the content very well, but actually running training courses is a very different skill. And some people fall down on that because they don't actually know how to put the courses together and run them successfully. So I could do that. And we had an ethos in a Greener Festival right from the very early days, which is why we were so closely linked through the university. That education was a key part of spreading the word, if you like, that it's really important that you educate people as well as do things. So we had this idea that we would do some training for people who wanted to know more, but also in 2015, Claire and the Greener Festival team took a year out to really review and reassess where a Greener Festival had got to in light of all the changes that had happened from the beginning to that period. So, it had been going for 8 years. A lot of things had happened, a lot of, new initiatives. People were, events and festivals were much more aware of the issues. I mean, when I started interviewing, that when you talk to people about the carbon footprint in 2007, you got a high response of, well, what's that? It was as basic as that in 2007. By 2015, there's a lot more information. People know a lot more. So the team decided that they needed really to revamp the whole assessment process if they were going to carry on with it, and that's what happened. So the new assessment was developed, taking on board all the changes that had happened over time. It was a much more sophisticated assessment, and that's what we have today. But we also realized that along with that, people needed to be trained in how to carry out the assessment. And we needed to have a consistent training program so that everybody approached the assessment in the same way. And with the way that the business has been growing, the other thing we needed were more assessors.
You don't have to do everything yourself.
And we couldn't do everything ourselves, or just with the small team that we had, although that small team are really vital because they're so experienced. So those are some of the reasons why we felt we needed to introduce proper training, formalize the training program, and then have two versions. One which is a slightly longer course for our assessors, for people who want to go out and assess events and festivals, and a slightly shorter one which doesn't take into account the assessment process for event organisers or events just starting, or people generally in the events industry who want to know more about what they should be doing to make their events greener. And then in 2017, just looking at how the business was growing and where we were doing assessments, I realised that I could use one of my contacts to help run these courses without having to do it face-to-face and clock up air miles by travelling to lots of different countries. Because I had a contact with the university who had just launched an online creative events management course, and they wanted some sustainability in that course. So I suggested to them that we might run the Agrina Festival training online, not only for their students, but also open it up to anybody who just wanted to do the training course. So this year we launched our online Agrina Festival training in October, and we ran the first one. We'll be running another online version in next month, in February, in fact.
Just a little recap, you got 2 trainings.
Yes.
One is to become an assessor, so to visit other events and festivals, to see how the organizers are doing on sustainability.
Yes.
And the other one is to get more knowledge about how to make your event more sustainable and environmental friendly.
Yes.
And then you got the combination.
Yes.
Okay.
On the online. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And can you give an example of the subjects of what they're learning?
What they learn is basically, it follows our assessment. So we start with the legislative and regulatory framework under which events have to comply anyway, in terms of environmental issues. So we look at where it came from, the Kyoto Agreement. We look, if we're in Europe, at EU legislation. We look at country-specific legislation, not in great detail in terms of, we're not training lawyers, but our assessors have to be aware that event organisers have to comply with certain legislation, and that may vary from country to country. We actually have to explain how that process works, because obviously events have to comply with regulation, they have to comply with legislation. And if you're assessing, you need to be aware that this is why they're doing certain things, and what that might be. So we start with that. We look at then self-regulation, and we look at how Agrina Festival sits with that, in that we are external verifiers. So we don't, hand something over to somebody and say, well, just see how you're getting on. We come in and check that what they think they're doing is what they're actually doing, if you see what I mean. And that's quite an important thing for us, that external verification, because we know that there's a gap between, how people view what they're doing in anything, and how other people might see where they're up to. So we start with that. We then go through the key topics. So we look at energy, water, power, power and energy, water, ecology, and how events, particularly outdoor events, might have an ecological impact on the environment in which the event is taking place, local environment, procurement, transport, and behaviour change. I'm sure I've missed one out there, but it's all the key topics
exactly.
around which legislation is based, but also, that have been recognised by events that they need to address. Oh, waste, the big one. That's the one.
Of course. And is this, because to me it sounds, especially at the outdoor events, business to consumer events, festivals, is it also, can you also apply it to business events?
Oh,
like
yeah, because in some respects, well, quite a lot of respects, an event is an event, and there are key things that sort of are present for all types of event. Obviously, when you're comparing a venue-based event with an indoor venue-based event with an outdoor event, there are other issues. But we have, because we are growing our business with indoor venue-based events, we have tailored our assessment and also our training to recognise some of the differences with indoor events. But we sort of, with the training, feel that we have to be as comprehensive as possible. So we almost give them, our participants, everything, so that they have the broadest knowledge that they can have. And then you can sort of pick the bits that you need for the type of event that we're looking at. So that's how it works, really.
Well, to me, it all adds up to something wonderful. That's training, educating, and guiding people through getting their events more and more sustainable, also for a, well, better future.
Yeah.
And I think adding to that is that you organize at the Green Festival the Green Events and Innovation Conference in March this year.
That's right, yes.
Can you tell me something more about that?
Yes, again, a bit of a story with that one. Green Events and Innovations, we formed it in 2008.
Okay.
So it'll be our 10th year. It was myself, Claire, so when I was at the university, a Greener Festival, and in the early days, the European festival organisers were part of it. Mm-hmm. And they, in some ways they still are, because people like Holger Schmidt from the Go Group, and I am a co-founder of the Go Group as well, will often take part in the festival, and Go Group members and Europe members will take part in the not festival, in the conference. So that history, so it evolved in 2008. It was because there weren't really any conferences really focusing at the time on these issues for festivals. Mm-hmm. And it's just grown and grown. We now partner with the International Live Music Conference, so it's held in London, at the venue for that broader conference, which is the Royal Garden Hotel in Kensington. Mm-hmm. It's a day-long conference. Again, that's been growing. We had our biggest ever audience last year, which was over 100 people.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, in the early days of trying to run conferences on green issues, it's quite hard work. It was hard work to make people understand that this was serious and this is something that they really should have an interest in. So we've worked very hard over the years to build this, and we were really delighted that, you know, we were well over 100 last year, and hopefully again we'll achieve the same and more this year, because the more people who attend, you know, the more the message is going out, and it's going out further. So we're really pleased with that. For this year's conference, we've got a number of themes. We're introducing something new for our 10th anniversary, which is an invitation to sort of green startup businesses to take part in a quick fire round. So here's you've got a captive audience. Tell us about your idea and your new green business and how it will help event organisers green their activities. So we've got that sort of little session. Mm-hmm. One of our themes is about water, because it's something that there hasn't been a great deal of focus on. Over the years, there's been a big focus on transport and trying to reduce transport emissions, trying to reduce waste. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily totally successfully, and obviously more recently power and energy sources has been a big issue, but there are a lot of issues to do with the use of water, particularly with outdoor events, but also this applies to indoor as well. Water is, you know, part of every event really. And so we want to put some focus on that issue as well. So we'll be doing something on that. as well as our usual, what are the key things that have happened in 2017. I don't want to reveal too much yet because we will be having some press releases fairly soon about what's coming. But we hope to make it as a special one, given that it's our 10th anniversary.
Great. So visitors can expect a lot of information.
Yes.
A lot of new knowledge, new research, maybe.
Yes, it's a combo. I mean, our speakers are all from the industry. Occasionally we will have some people from education, universities, talking about their research. But you can guarantee that the people that we have speaking are practitioners with many, many years experience. So, and we always try to make sure that those people who attend learn something new. If I go to a conference, I don't want to hear what I've heard at 10 other conferences.
No.
I want to go because I'm interested and I'm keen to learn something new. So we try to put things in which are new and which perhaps, or take a different angle on something, so that people go away feeling like they really did learn something at this conference. We're always coming up with what's of the moment, what's important now, as well as some of the more standard topics. Lunch is part of the deal, and of course, as you might expect, that's a vegetarian lunch.
Exactly.
As far as we can to live.
Perfect. Right. And the tickets are still available?
Oh yes, tickets are available. The very early bird have now sold out, but get there quickly if you want one, because they will sell out very soon, I'm sure.
And where can they be purchased?
They can be purchased online from us. So if you go to the Agrina Festival website, that's agrinafestival.com, you'll find a link which will take you straight through to the ticket site.
Okay. So now we all know where to buy the tickets so we can all attend.
Yes.
And then there's something else I'm wondering, besides all the trainings and the conference, because you said you actually you educated in sustainable events and environmental situations. What do you think is the most important part in organizing a sustainable and environmental friendly event?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. That's a big question. I think one of the things is, at what point are you? Are you a new event? Are you an established event? Are you on a new site, fresh, pristine site? Is it, for example, a new venue which already has, these days building regulations have quite a lot of specifications. Help you, or are you an outdoor newbie? So I think if you are new, the first thing is to pick your battles. So just try and pick a few areas rather than try to do the whole thing in one go, because it's too big for a new event, and you may get disheartened if you can't do it all at once. So better to do a few things well than try and do everything. So yeah, I'm not being evasive, but that's quite a question. Get some advice. Talk to other events who've done it. Go to other events and see what they're doing. And I know very well that even, people who run very successfully green events still visit other events to look at what their green initiatives is, because, it is about sharing good practice. And through a greener festival, we do a lot of that. But use those means to find out what other people are doing. And they'll be very happy to share what they do with you, to help you as well. It's about, you know, what's possible, and what people can. I think you need some quick wins in this, you know, to motivate and encourage. You know, look at what you can achieve more easily, and then have a few things that are harder, and sort of tackle those rather than try and do everything at once. So I hope that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and your time with us.
Okay.
And we will see each other in person at the event, Greener Event Conference in London.
Fantastic. Yes.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to GEI 18.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Bye.